I made a video 2 years ago about how I think that most popular post-2000s animated movies are low-effort light shows, and that the golden era of animation is past. And boy, was I right. But I still get comments from people saying things like, well, what about Inside Out and Soul? What about Incredibles 2? And I get the feeling that some of you guys are missing the point. The point being that I think good movies and great movies are not the same thing. And because discourse has devolved to the point that tier lists are the only way to concretely demonstrate an opinion, please refer to mine if you're still confused. You may notice that nothing released in the last 11 years is close to the upper echelon, or S tier of movies. Obviously, I'm not saying every single movie Pixar released for 15 years was great. A Bug's Life hasn't aged well, and Cars wasn't Pixar's finest. And while I'm sure you have your own opinions about whether Incredibles 2 was better than Onward or vice versa, neither movie, nor Soul, nor Inside Out, nor anything else released since Toy Story 3 or Up, for those even more elitist than myself, has had the combination of quality, lasting appeal, and humor that they used to. Okay? We good now? You guys gonna leave me alone about how Poco is the exception that proves the rule?
Silencio, Bruno! Silencio, Bruno! Silencio, Bruno!
Shut the fuck up.
So why are we talking about Luca then? Well, truth to be told, I wouldn't have made this video about Soul or Onward, even though I ultimately found them both to be substandard and forgettable movies. Luca, on the other hand, strikes a specific chord with me because it seemingly harkens back to the 2007 Pixar film Ratatouille, which just so happens to be my all-time favorite animated movie. And while I'm certainly not alone in seeing this comparison, apparently I'm the only one who finds this inferior thematic copycat as egregious as I do. Well, if you hear me out, then maybe I'll convince you too. So prepare to be dragged down into my oceanic trench of cynicism. Let me clarify that I'm not the first to draw a Luca Ratatouille connection, because it's pretty easy to see. It takes place in a European country where only the supporting characters speak in accents. The villain is an evil European with excessive pride. Still not convinced? How's this? A character is trying to achieve his dream in a world in which he doesn't belong. He has to be led around by a human character and tries to help them achieve their goal too. One of the human characters even becomes a love interest of the main character, which causes the other to get jealous and split with them. But at the end of the movie, the main characters unite and accomplish the goal the movie's been building towards the entire time. Yes, all these things happen in Luca and Ratatouille, but there are a lot of things even further beneath the surface that maybe aren't as obvious. And no, this isn't going to have anything to do with the theory that the two main characters are actually in love with each other. I think we can all agree that the theme wouldn't carry over super well to Ratatouille. But let's dig a little deeper into the similar but not as goods between the two movies that you may not have thought about. For instance, the setting. The simple reality of the two movies' settings is that in one case it's fitting and the other it's not. France is a country that is well renowned for its food, art, and general stuck-upness. In other words, this is basically the perfect setting for a movie about a rat who wants to become a cook. Dramatic French people who are disgusted even by other humans. A sympathetic protagonist who's a dirty rat. Quite the juxtaposition. Luca, on the other hand, never really justifies its setting in Italy. I understand that Italy has its own history of sea monster legends, but frankly, this isn't enough. Luca and Alberto could have been any other type of monsters rejected by society, and the story would have virtually been the same. They could have been vampires in Transylvania who wanted to join a beach volleyball league, or werewolves in Japan who want to learn how to make sushi. I don't know. Although honestly, you could have told me the last one is already a Studio Ghibli movie, and I believe it. You see what I mean? What about Italy and the gags therein makes such a great setting for Luca's story? Speaking of the story, let's do a quick comparison of the two. Ratatouille. It's a movie that sets out to answer the age-old question, who was in Paris? A rat with a penchant for food and cooking wants to fulfill his dream of becoming a chef at Gusteau's, a once highly renowned restaurant. After disaster strikes and he's forced from his home, Remy finds himself on his own in Paris. With nothing and nobody else, he quickly seeks out the restaurant where he meets Linguini, the recently hired, unambitious and bumbling garbage boy. Remy decides to help keep Linguini from losing his job in exchange for pretty much full autonomy over Linguini's body, so he can vicariously fulfill his dreams of becoming a chef, all while under the crazed scrutiny of head chef Skinner, and while attempting to prove himself the notorious and unforgiving food critic Anton Ego. You know what though? That barely does the story justice. There's so much going on in this movie which clocks in at just under 2 hours. Ratatouille is a masterclass at pacing, writing, and character development, and they gave it to children who all walked away from this movie thinking the main character's name was Ratatouille. And now we have Luca. A sea monster named Luca wants to see what the above human world is like, so with the help of Alberto, another sea monster, they go to the human world and they decide they want to get a Vespa, but in order to do so, they have to win a triathlon with the help of Julia. I swear I just watched this movie and I still need to consult a plot synopsis. It's just an empty, risk-averse film with unconvincing stakes. Can't Luca just go back to living his old life if things don't work out in the human world? Remy, on the other hand, has to honor his deal. If you remember, the arrangement he made with Linguini was in exchange for not being subjected to a horrific death by drowning. Luca's the type of movie you watch and kind of go, "aw," and forget about it, like a video of a dog with a funny hat or something. I'm certainly not saying the story wasn't charming. The shred of originality the movie did have made sense. Anyone who knows children knows that they like to take simple and mundane things and basically enshrine them, like a favorite blanket, a stuffed animal, even a box or something. It's realistic that these two kids have decided a Vespa will be the answer to all their problems, and while endearing, at the end of the day, this is just a movie about two kids who want to buy a fucking scooter. There's no God-given purpose that is fulfilled by buying a scooter. Thinking about how Ratatouille sufficiently explored each of its themes kind of makes you feel like, boy, they really just didn't give a shit about that in Luca. They devoted so much of the movie to the subplot where the parents are trying to track down Luca, because I guess we're too dumb to understand that they're overprotective without it being hammered into our brains. The entire time I thought there was going to be some kind of payoff, but they aren't even the ones who successfully protect him when he gets exposed. I almost wish they had gone with something corny like his grandpa was killed by a sea monster, because otherwise it just seems like they're trying to fill time for no reason. And this is the third shortest Pixar movie ever released. Oh, no, I get it. Luca's parents don't want him to take any risks, just like the writers didn't want to take any risks. So Luca's story is inferior. Well, could one be forgiven for believing that Luca and Ratatouille have pretty much the same message? Both Luca and Remy are looking for acceptance among the humans, right? No. This just isn't the case for Ratatouille. Do you remember the kind of messed up scene where Remy's dad takes him to the rat trap shop to see all the rats that have been killed by humans? It's supposed to be a visceral reminder that humans and rats cannot coexist. Rats will always be seen as disgusting pests and thieves by humans. At least most of them. But Remy doesn't really care about getting an entire village to love him. And there's no big moment at the end where everyone accepts, oh, there's a putrid rat cooking for us now. Well, I guess this is fine. Literally, there's a scene of the exact opposite, where none of the chefs stick around when they learn the truth about Linguini and Remy, except for Colette, but only after being reminded of Gusteau's deepest conviction: anyone can cook, which is all Remy wants to do, and he can do that at his own restaurant with Linguini and Colette at his side. Really, the only person whose acceptance he's trying to win is that of the food critic Anton Ego. He does this by showing Ego that even an ambitious rat and an unappeasable food critic can somehow respect one another through the one thing they both have in common: love of food. Because the movie understands that anyone can cook is a much more realistic message than anyone can act like a human. The ending of Luca is one of the more dissatisfying parts of the movie. Honestly, I can't remember the last time a Pixar movie burnt out in such a disappointing fashion. Luca is revealed to be a sea monster and everyone loses their mind. Then his human friend Julia's dad does the kind of "you're gonna have to go through me" thing, and everyone is like, never mind, we're not bigoted anymore. What? The entire town is built on the hatred of sea monsters, and we're supposed to believe they all had a change of heart because one of them won a race? Wait, race? Racism. Guys, you get. Then, of course, when the obvious question comes up of, wait, what happens when Luca meets a village of humans who do immediately eviscerate him? Luca's grandmother delivers a ridiculously cop-out line about how some people will never accept him, but Luca knows how to find the good ones.
Some people, they'll never accept him, but some will. And he seems to know how to find the good ones.
Despite the fact that it sure looked like the good ones were 5 seconds away from turning Luca, his friends, and his whole family into a rustic Italian fish dish. What a little horse. Pixar is rapidly approaching a fate that is somewhat similar to what happened with Star Wars, that eventually, like Karen ferrying the dead down the river Styx, the film lineup will cross into a chronology where they've been mediocre for as long as they've been great. Don't misinterpret my sarcasm. I would have loved for Luca to have been a legitimate spiritual successor to Ratatouille, but that just isn't possible when you're not willing to commit to any theme, your story lacks gravity, your characters have no purpose, and the message and concepts are explored about as deeply as a puddle of water.